As I mentioned in my previous video, I was going to talk about operations in monodic theory. I'll start with like an example and kind of work up to a general idea. Um, what I mean by that. Um, so you've seen the operations, the alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and I'm going to show you a simple, the most basic one that makes the most sense for simplicity. Whatever, we don't care what the index is right now in this context. So that was a simple thing, right? And then what if we had two of those? What if, is this a well-formed formula? Those do not look like us. Is this a well-formed formula? Okay, will this lead to something inside the monodic theory? Would that make sense? Well, if you look at operators close together, you could see this is actually something along the lines of this. Which then, this gives you that, and then you're adding one indicity. So essentially, that would give you something like that. You could look at it that way. And then you could like chain that out and keep chaining that out. The idea is that you can use, you can have multiple operations on an individual line. You can either bring them down, like say we take that top part, the activated deal, and then say, oh, I'm just going to bring it down here, and then you could take and plug in this operator on that resultant right here. So that gives you, well, this is M1. This would give you, you're plugging it under that M1. It's the same thing. That gives you the M2. So you can see that you can take and add or do those same operations on the resultant into the next line. I'm just showing that you can basically make what I've been calling a word, using some more of the computational grammar terminology, a word of operations on monodes and neighborhoods. One caveat is no matter how you do it, you got to make sure the order of operations stay the same. So if you do this here and get this, then this will work on this and give you this. Well, remember that. What would give you that? That's kind of the whole idea. And they don't have to be the same operators. And that's, I guess, probably the power you would see behind, maybe not power, but the utility with combining the operators. So if I combined that with some monode, it's activated but it has no indicity, well, I'll bring it down. So we do the alpha. We'll do this one first. That gives you an indicity of 1. And then we do this on here. And we'll just put the resulting down here. That gives you a binding of that individual self-bind or self-bond or whatever we're calling it. And that's the idea behind it. And you can do many different things that, as long as what it produces is something that could be used again as a process to be transformed into. So as long as the right side could be put back into the left side, it would be a well-founded formula. There's going to be times if you do stuff that don't make no sense. So if you try to delta, mu, right, it's just going to basically give you mu. It's not really going to have a lot of sense. It's not going to make it. It doesn't even do anything. It doesn't take away or give anything. It just kind of absorbs back into mu, But if you put an alpha there, well, that gives you this, and then it gives you a delta of that, which then gives you mu. But it's basically deactivating this monode. So it does something here. It doesn't seem like it does. It seems like it, this is not, or this is doing something, but it's not. This right here is basically just saying nothing's going on. When you put the alpha in front of the delta, then it shows you, you're activating and then immediately deactivating the monode, essentially, is what that comes down to. A lot to work through. I've still been trying to give this more of a formal basis. The closest I've come to is working with, in a general sense, when I was using this whole thing. And these processes transform into these resultants. And in this case, you could have, and these are the, this one, t plus 2, and so on and so forth, all on the same line. And obviously, these right here are saying that you have an operator that's going to operate on something, right? That was the whole, so you have the alpha that's going to operate on the mu, right? And then it transforms into some resultant. So essentially, nothing special about it, just saying, hey, this is a result from this process, and it's unique in the sense that it has its own individuality. If two resultants are identical, they have an equivalency, then it's essentially the same resultant. It's the whole idea there. But yeah, so trying to put those together on that, so you can do an alpha, beta, whatever, so on and so forth, as long as it can be one of these statements. As long as you can plug it in and it makes sense, then you can use it. So, and you could pretty much use anything, but you won't get any results. You'll get like nothing. It's almost like it wasn't valid in the first place. You can still use it, but it isn't going to really do anything. Like I said, if you delta mu, it gives you just mu. It doesn't crash the system or anything like that. It just absorbs it back in. It doesn't really do much. Because the whole idea is, it's unlike, it's not like we're creating entities and then working with the entities. They're all already there. You're just kind of making them relevant. You're making them activated, is the term I've been using. You're making them relevant in the context you use them in the to borrow that term, universe of discourse. And that's the idea behind that. I'll probably go more into it as I get a little bit more time working on it and trying to understand it. I feel like it's important to start this before we start going into neighborhoods, because when you start using operations on neighborhoods, you kind of get different results than you would with monodes, as I've showed previous. And neighborhoods can get quite complex as you start to experiment with some of the fundamental nature of a neighborhood. A good analogy would be analogous construct would be like a set compared to neighborhood. Now, there's going to be some differences there, but obvious differences because they come from different places. But there's also a lot of similarities too. There's certain things you could do with neighborhoods at the level that we're working that you couldn't do with sets. For instance, a polynode inside a neighborhood could be seen as like what they refers to a bag in set theory, where you can have more of the same element within the set, and a polynode would be kind of an example of that in that sense. But it wouldn't be like it wouldn't matter if it was just a monode on its own, or if it was just a polynode representative. The only thing that matters is that index. Are they different, or are they the same inside a neighborhood? And it'll be something very interesting to explore in future videos, and as I keep working on this on monodic theory and the Moore universe. I think the next video I'll start maybe delving into a little bit more into neighborhoods. And then after that, I will try to work out some more of that, maybe the second part to that, the video I was talking about trying to create how you could create a logical system, and finding out a way to make and or not and or work. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Well, thank you for your time.